in definition also, in childhood obesity, obesity is not the term used in childhood, rather overweight is used. And in BMI classification in children, 5th to 84th percentile is the normal weight, and 85th to 95th at risk for overweight, and more than 95th or equal to 95th is taken as overweight, because the children are always growing and their height is gradually changing. So we can see that at 4 years of age BMI may be 19, and at the same person, if we consider the BMI of 13 years, it will be 25. So there is changing BMI. So the classification has been changed. It just changed from obesity to overweight in children. And if we come to the pathogenesis of the children of overweight or obesity, next, it has 3 main causes. First one is genetic, second is environmental, and this endogenous weight control mechanism. But among all these, the strongest predictor is the parental obesity. That is the strongest predictor. Next one is the high birth weight and the low birth weight. Both has equal importance. High birth weight is related to maternal obesity, and low birth weight has a high risk of central obesity. Next, if we consider genetic as there is a thrifty genotype. In the previous, our ancestors were suffering from the food scarcity, and their adipose tissue have a tendency to storage of food, and later after industrialization and urbanization, plenty of food, and leading to the detrimental effect of overweight. And another effect of genetic is that if we consider an identical twin of equal weight, reared in different situations and different circumstances with different diet, and it has been seen that they have grown with a similar weight tendency. So this genetic factor is important here. Next is environmental, because of inexpensive and convenience type of food with high calorie, high fat, high sodium, and decreased fiber, micronutrient, and snacks in between food and fast food type, with a screen time more than 20 hours per week, that consists of TV, computer, mobile, etc. And another is endogenous weight control mechanism, that will discuss by Mr. later on, the adipose tissue and GI, and they are both the appetite center and the satiety center.
Dr. Sharmishta Mukherjee, we have heard that adipose tissue is no longer considered just a layer of fat. It is an endocrine organ or endocrine system. What is your opinion about it, and why is it called adipose tissue is called an endocrine system now?
Yes, this is a complicated issue, I think, but still we should mention that adipose tissue is no longer considered as an inert organ. It is a dynamic tissue. It is an endocrine organ now it is considered, because there are several cytokines and hormones are secreted from this adipose tissue, of which few they promote insulin resistance, they cause insulin resistance, and there are a few which improve insulin resistance, and there is a vicious cycle. As for example, at least few adipocytokines are there. As for example, TNF-alpha, resistin, free fatty acids, these cause increased insulin resistance. And there are few like adiponectin and leptin. These are decreasing the insulin resistance. This adipose tissue are a huge, in fact we may call nowadays that it is the largest endocrine organ in our body.
Dr. Bhattacharya, we have known that it was in 1988 when Riven, in his famous Banting lecture, had said that there is a syndrome complex consisting of various features, which he had termed syndrome X, because no single cause could be incriminated for that constellation of syndromes at that time. The name has metamorphized over the years from syndrome X to disequilibrium syndrome to metabolic syndrome, which is now the current. We would like you to tell all of us in the house, what is this metabolic syndrome? What are the constellations of this metabolic syndrome? How does metabolic syndrome how is it related to insulin resistance and obesity?
Actually, in the early 90s, and they found, the investigator found that there is some subset of patient who satisfy some clinical and the biochemical characters in which they found the increased risk for the morbidity and mortality for the cardiovascular disease. And at the time, what Dr. Manita told, that Dr. Revan has got some unique paper over there, and ultimately in 1998, WHO formulated the first criteria for the metabolic syndrome. At the time, it was, over the years, it was changed from the metabolic syndrome to syndrome X, Revan syndrome, dysmetabolic syndrome, and ultimately the metabolic syndrome. It actually comprises of 5 things, that it is actually the waist circumference. The word Dr. Mukherjee emphasized a bit earlier, that it is the central obesity. You find it that previously it was thought to be a BMI, but now it is no more the BMI, it is the central obesity, that is 102 and 88 is for the Western countries, and also the triglycerides more than 150, low cholesterol, low HDL, that is less than 40 for men and less than 50 for women. The blood pressure is 130/85, and the fasting glucose, that initially it was at 110, now it was modified to 100 milligram per deciliter. If any of the 3 will satisfy in the group of patients, they found that they have got an increased morbidity and the mortality for the cardiovascular problem. And it was a peculiar thing, it was found that nowadays, the recent survey in the US, that the age of 45 to 50, more than 30% of the male population are within these parameters, and more alarmingly, 45% of the women are also in the group of the metabolic syndrome. And also there is some fallacy also here. That what just told you that what is the central obesity? The central obesity means 100, we tell that 40 inches and 35 inch. But is it there is some fallacy over there. It is not the food problem. It may be the cutaneous obesity, or it may be the visceral obesity. So it was found that Afro-Americans, they have got a more thick cutaneous fat. So in that patients, it is not that much of risky. Whereas in the Asian Indians, they have got a visceral obesity. Because the visceral obesity, the fat is actually linked up with the portal system. So the free fatty acid is readily available in the portal system, the liver and the blood. Whereas in the systemic circulation, especially when it is deposited on the skin, so it is going through the systemic system to the portal system. So actually, there is some fallacy that it is more precise if we are going to measure the visceral obesity by MRI or other measures, mechanics by which we can measure